what is it? We tried really hard to kind of restart this thing back in November, and then that kind of
Well, and then I got COVID, so.
By the way, we're recording now, so now everyone.
Hey,
unless you want me to cut that.
I had the plague of the 21st century. I mean, what the hell? So it's kind of. I'm still.
I most likely Did it affect you really horribly, or?
Man, that was. I know people go through. I'm not making light of it because I know there are some people that have a really rough time with it. All I did was I slept 20 hours one day, and that was about it. I was really tired for about a week. That was about it.
That's why I have no idea whether or not I've actually had it, because I've been tired since 2019. So I'm like, did I?
No, I mean it was a different. It was a different. I mean, you just felt just exhausted. I mean, like I said, I slept 20 hours one day, and it just, it knocked me flat on my ass. But other than that, that was about it. I mean, I had a little bit of a temperature. The whole smell and taste thing went away. But yeah, that was. I mean, it was really pretty. I've had allergy attacks that were worse than that. I mean, it was not that bad. So.
Well, we're glad you're in one piece and you're back with us.
Yeah.
So, definitely. And I guess I should introduce the show proper here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, hello, and goodbye, friends. Welcome to Karate Without Belts. We're in 2022. Jeremy survived Corona, thankfully.
Corona, yeah.
And, well, any other variety of beverage that he imbibes. So.
Yeah, I definitely survived the Black Plague of the 21st century. So I'm good now. So
the thing is, as much as people have been I have been told to stay home from, I guess, March 2020 when all this kind of kicked off worldwide. I was told to stay home for probably a total of 2 weeks, and only have had to use Zoom a couple times for work. Otherwise, as an educator, I've been on the ground. So I can say for a fact that I don't know, that I've actually had to work through it quite literally. So, and it is what it is. Jeremy, how the hell are you doing?
Wow, just been really, really busy. I guess that's a good thing, but just like for things to calm down just a little bit. But other than that, it's going. So
good. What have you been up to with training lately?
Training, I've just kind of been getting back into going back through basic stuff, basic exercises, going through my katas. It's funny. I know on previous podcasts, most people know how much I love Kama, and so I've been working with Kama almost every day lately. So it's just kind of, yeah. And I don't know why. It's just all right, just work with it. Just keep working with it, and just try to. Maybe eventually I'll appreciate that weapon, but I still don't like it. But I'm liking it more. But that was a pretty low bar. So
that's amazing, because since we've gotten you to open up about it, you have been it turned you around on it. Not that I've been we have to do Kama, but
I don't know. You know, I mean,
That's kind of fascinating.
you know, I mean, sometimes I guess I look at it from, okay, I don't like doing this. Why? So I'll do it more and try to figure out what my mental hang up is on it.
I
So
get that.
so anyway, that's just kind of that's me. I mean, that's whenever I start digging into training. I mean, it's funny. I was I really did not like Psy for the longest time. Yeah, yeah,
Coming from the guy who was like, "All right, John, we're doing Psy," was like
yeah,
the first thing we did, and well,
yeah.
that's because of the kata, I think. That's because I think he.
Well, yeah, I really. It was funny. It was presented to me to learn the second kata that we do, and I was like, man, I really don't want to do it. And it was interesting because Sensei Mike Miner's like, Jerry, shut up, you're going to do this. You're going to learn this second kata. I'm like, I really don't want to. I was just really frustrated with Sai at that point. And he goes, no, you're going to learn it. And so I don't know. It was interesting because it wasn't very long after that I really took to it. So go
I get
figure.
that. I mean, I've been a little stalled on COVID. I've been stalled with training for probably a decent. The time we were kind of off the podcast for a while, I was fairly stalled with training. Jeremy knows of my adventures with diesel, gasoline, and a gas tank,
Yeah,
so we'll just kind of make that canon right there.
yeah.
And it's, thankfully, it didn't cost me much of anything, but except taxis and whatnot. But it kind of put a damper on just kind of my ability to go out to places to go train, and where I live currently, it isn't really conducive to like at home training. So it's something you can do, but it's frustrating to do, especially when you work in a confined space. So
Yeah.
but recently I got back in the gym, thankfully, and I don't know, I've been thinking, mainly looking at like, all right, if I were to teach someone today, like today, someone came up to me and said, "John, teach me karate. What would be the things I start with, and how do I integrate like all of the lessons I've learned pretty much up until now to make that a much more streamlined, I don't want to say streamlined, but a better version of something I didn't really get, but something I know I can impart to somebody else." So I think that's what everyone kind of faces at some point. And no, I haven't had any students I haven't really taught anybody for a long time. It's definitely something. It's very present in my mind recently. Um, so yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, yeah,
definitely something I think we're gonna have to tread down a path at some point with the podcast. But today we're going to talk about. Well, I didn't really want to go back down this road, to be honest. Full disclosure, folks. I didn't want to do this. Jeremy bugged
oh,
me
you're gonna
to
blame
do
me.
this.
Okay. All
Not
right.
just you, other people as well. They were like, "John, did you watch Cobra Kai season 4? John, why won't you see Cobra Kai season 4? John, Cobra Kai season 4 is so good." And I will share with you my live reactions to this, because at first I tried to watch it, and after the first like 2 minutes of into this season of Cobra Kai, I could not stand it. I literally got in my car and drove to the grocery store 30 minutes away. I paid tolls to get away from Cobra Kai. And then I found a bottle of alcohol. And then I came home. And then I said, okay, let's do this. I needed to do this assisted with alcohol in order to get through this. And in order of watching this, I share my screen with Jeremy. This was not live tweeting because I don't believe in doing that, but live at least social mediaing. This was my reactions. Cobra Kai writing is poop with an extended use of O. Cobra Kai season 4 is all about kids not going to college and getting trade school jobs. Fight me, I'm right. Cobra Kai season 4 is dumb. Cobra Kai season 4 is bad because we already had this conversation. And ending in, I wish Harold Ramis had wrote Karate Kid so we didn't have Cobra Kai. So these were my reactions. And yes, if anybody is wondering what the Harold Ramis reference is for, it's for Animal House. Because if we had an ending to Karate Kid like we had to Animal House, we would have had like Johnny Lawrence ends up as a senator. Daniel gets married to Lori, and then they get divorced 5 years later. Like, we would have had that kind of ending, and then put a complete cap on all of this, so we never had gone down this road.
Oh,
I've
well, I mean,
softened since my initial viewing of this, and the alcohol's worn off. But I thought this was worth sharing, at least with our audience.
you could have thrown in a Ghostbusters, riff in there along with Stripes and a couple other things. I mean, come on, man. Don't just stick with Animal House. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I mean, Ghostbusters has been nostalgia wanked to death, and I don't know. I've never seen Stripes.
Never seen Stripes. What's the matter with you, man? Come on. Anyway,
I don't know. I don't want to watch more Bill Murray things because he's the reason. Like, I don't know. He hated Harold Ramis for no reason. But anyway, though it was my like initial reaction to the season. I've since softened. Then, Jeremy, you had a very different reaction to this.
now I will preference this. Season 4 had about as much cheese in it as Cheese Whiz in a can. Okay, there was a lot of cheese in this season. But the thing I like about the Cobra Kai series is I look at some of the underlying and the hidden lessons that they're trying to bring out, and it's even interesting. I even went back and watched. Now I suffered through it. Karate Kid 3.
I have not. I have watched. I've watched the sporadic parts of it, but I've never watched the whole thing through.
I
know what happens in there, but I've never watched the whole thing through. And probably most people who watched season 4 never saw it.
Right. And one of my favorite things was in the very first episode, I'm like, how are they going to tie Karate Kid 3, I mean, the villain in Karate Kid 3, into this new series? How are they going to tie it into it? And how are they going to tie it in to be actually even worthwhile? And the thing of it is the guy who plays Terry Silver, I mean, he said almost real quick in that episode, it's like, back then we're terrorizing a teenage kid, through torturing him, through practicing karate. And he goes, it sounds stupid. And you know what? That totally negated that whole movie in one shot. I thought it was like, okay, this is
and like, wait, in that movie. Remind me? Does it actually does Cobra Kai 4 confirm that Terry Silver was on cocaine, or was the cocaine in Karate Kid 3? Because I think we didn't get a confirmation of that there was actually like cocaine being used in Karate Kid 3.
There really,
because I know the production of that movie had.
It really wasn't brought to the forefront in Karate Kid 3, but some of the things in Karate Kid 3 that brought out a lot of the culture from the 80s, there were certain symbols in Karate Kid 3. It's like, okay, it's like,
He is doing so. So it was implied, but then it wasn't
yeah,
explicitly
I mean,
stated. Okay.
you couldn't make that jump. You couldn't make that jump, but it's like, and looking back at it now, not being some, very green teenager who was dumber than a box of rocks. Thank you very much. I'll tell one on myself. But yeah, looking back, I was like, okay, that, I can kind of see, certain symbols that, that now I can pick up on years and years and years later, until my age. But that's all right. But that's
Well, and I probably think like if anybody was looking for it, like would have known what was happening. But like that movie apparently also is like it was made in like what was it, 89, 88, something like that. It was like made like
it was.
it was later and like sorry, Ralph Macchio looks. Well, it's supposed to be like what like right. It was supposed to happen right after Karate Kid 2, and like he looks visibly older,
Yeah.
visibly like it is in his 20s, and
Yeah.
remarkably he's they could not actually make the quote unquote love interest in that movie his love interest. They had to rewrite it because she was technically a minor at that time. So
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah, that part was a little odd, but that's all right.
but I mean it's basically a recycling of it's the Return of the Jedi of the Karate Kid series. It's basically recycling the old
First.
this yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
It was. Don't get me wrong. What's interesting is, I mean, there were some really good lessons that you can pull from Karate Kid 3, but the way they made the story, it did stink. It really did. Now,
yeah.
Cobra Kai season 4, I I just thought one of the things I got out of that the whole 10 episodes was how how a lot of the students and even the instructors come to terms with different things during training and in life. Like, I'll give you one example. The gal that plays Tori, she's faced with, I mean, since season 2, I mean, she's just been a hard nosed fighter, not just in the dojo, but just in life in general. She's faced with a personal situation and she's realizing, you know, I can't just combat this head straight on. I've got to look at this a little bit differently, almost like she's got to step back. And what I mean is, I'm not trying to, anybody who hadn't seen it, I'm not trying to spoil it or whatever, but
It's been out. It's a Netflix show. It's all right there. That they
I know there's like 2 billion people that have seen it.
yeah. So
There's
oh
there's
sorry,
like there's like 12.
you clicked on this
It's hit,
podcast. You knew what you were getting. So,
it's hit 12 billion views and it's only got 7 billion people on the planet. I get it, but I mean the thing, when she's confronted with her aunt or family member about potentially losing, the household that she's trying to keep together with her mom and stuff, she realizes that she's got to be able to face it head on, but not so much in a combative way. And that's when she goes and asks for asks for some assistance somewhere else, And so it's kind of, I think that was kind of interesting how some of the characters face some of that, along with you got some of these people who have been very passive in the past past seasons have become much more aggressive. So it's just kind of like, and I look at it like, that mirrors training. There are times you're dealing with stuff that, you start getting on, whether it's confidence, ego, you're battling, hey, that next rank, that next belt, this next weapon, this next technique, whatever it is, you're always kind of battling that, I'd say, ego versus humbleness. And I saw that throughout the entire season with many of the characters and the instructors, and Johnny, Daniel, even the end. I'm not going to give away the end,
We
but
can give away the ending here. It's fine.
huh?
We can totally do that.
Oh, okay.
This is well been on Netflix for like probably, what is it, the 16th right now?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
3 more than that. I think it was like before Christmas that this came out or something.
No. It came out on New Year's Eve.
Day. Okay. Well then,
2 weeks.
If I can one shot this, I'm sure everyone else is one shot this. So.
Well, it's the one thing I thought was interesting, and it was something that was mentioned a long time ago, and I will say this: it took this lesson that I was told, or taught, however you want to call it, a long time ago. I remember Sensei Oyata. He had mentioned, never have dojo with two senseis. Bad idea. And I forgot somebody had said something to him or asked him. He says, eventually one will try to take out the other. And I mean, in this season, you totally see that with what happened at the very end.
Well, and then like the thing is, what happens at the very end, like, spoiler alert, turn off this podcast now if you don't want to hear it. Darth Vader comes in and kills everyone. And then Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire come back and reprise their roles as Spider-Man and I don't know, fight the Balrog. No. Okay, so there you go. There's our spoiler buffer. What happens at the end is I feel this is okay. I totally see where you're coming from with everything you're saying. I agree that those points are being made. I think they're not being made very well. I think that the writers think it's still the 1980s and don't understand that the portrayal of the dynamics they're going for, and especially the character of Tori, how they're writing her is like how they would write that in the 80s. But like that is, and this is my issue with like how they're portraying like everything that happens to these kids is like, oh, it's very like hand waved, right? Like what happened to Miguel in the last season. He's like, oh, he broke his back, but we're all holding a car wash fundraiser to pay for his back surgery. It's like, that's like $100,000. You're not gonna like raise $100,000 from like a car wash.
I don't know. With the inflation going the way it is, it may pull 100,000. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. But that's what I mean. Like where it's like.
Sorry.
Where it's like, no, but it's that's what I mean. Like they don't quite understand. Like you can't write this like you wrote it 30 years ago because it's not 30 years ago. No, sorry. To your point of like the two senseis, you end up with the same problem that you started with in the beginning because they just brought in, and the reveal was Chosen's in America now. So like. my criticism is they repeated plot points. It's like Daniel and Johnny, like Johnny not learning his lesson. Okay, I've kind of accepted like the character they're going with. He's like he'll never learn. He's set in his ways. He's just like an idiot. I guess this is the same character arc they're having for Daniel too, because Daniel also is just an idiot. Because he doesn't learn anything. Like he was like 15 years old, and like Miyagi had to like apparently carry him until he was like 45, until Miyagi died, and then like he wouldn't shut up about it ever since.
Well, okay. Well, let's take this a step further. How many people that practice karate continue to have that same mindset?
Of like master give me.
Well, here's one of the other things that came out, and it was, I don't know, it was definitely cheesy, and it was cool whenever I caught it in the episode. I caught it pretty quick in the episode. But, there was a part where, Sam is doing the final fight. And right. She asks, do I use this style or this style? And finally, the light went on with Daniel, and he basically says, use your style. Use what you're going to use. And I think that's where a lot of people don't progress in karate. It's to a point, think about how many instructors or how many dojos you've gone to. This is the way we do it. This is the only way it's done.
Well, really? And that shows the complete. I mean, and this is why, like, and I was going back and watching some of the older, like, Cobra Kai episodes where I'm like, yes, this is why, like, when we first talked about Cobra Kai, I'm like, this is exactly like Spinal Tap for karate, because, like, this is exactly like what we've had to experience in the American life of seeing, like, traditional martial arts being marketed and proselytized, where people always have to relearn this lesson.
Yeah.
But now that you say it, I mean, it's interesting because if you look at the kids, like, we have 4 different examples of this, right? You have Tori on the one hand, who's like had to essentially, I don't think her character arc was well written at all. I honestly don't. It's written by like 3 like middle-aged dudes who don't understand.
Well, that. I think they're
they tried.
I think they should have put a little more backstory with her. I mean, they've done some, but not a lot, because it's like you see that inner struggle that she's dealing with, not just being a kid, but she's also trying to be a grown-up while being a kid, and fighting for everything she gets. And I get that.
Well, and like the thing is, like, I wish there would have been like more of like this, and this shows like their inability to be creative, because like you've got all that time, you've got 10 episodes. Why not do a day in a life of like perspective? It's a little, like, think of it this way: don't focus on the adults at all. Like, focus on the perspective of the kids and how they're perceiving the lessons they're being learned.
Yeah.
Right. You could totally have done that and then actually seen the interior life of the kids. But because everything needs to be seen from like and always like a third person perspective, that we don't ever get that idea. But like, you see, like, Tori on the one hand has that growth. Sam, I guess, I don't know. I don't like what they're doing with her character at all. I think it's like she had the PTSD moment, then she overcame that through fighting, apparently, and then now she's Spider-Man. I don't know.
Come on, the part where she jumped from building to building, that was, as Johnny would say, that's pretty badass. Okay, that was badass. Okay. I mean,
I don't
I'll
want
be
to. I don't want to
perfectly.
comment on the actors, but I don't believe any of them are in the physical condition to actually do that. It very much looks like a
Yeah,
COVID production, and I'm not gonna badmouth any of the actors. They're all doing their best with the material they're given, but I do not believe any of them are physically capable of doing some of those stunts.
I think there are probably. I think I think probably Tanner, and I think probably the guy that plays Eli. Um, can't remember what his name is, but
Yeah,
Bertrand or whatever. I
yeah.
think I think those two are actually pretty physically capable of doing some of this stuff.
At least they look like it.
Well,
Um,
I mean, yeah, I mean,
yeah, but I mean, like, that's where I was like, all right, I can kind of believe that. But like, you're a spoiled girl from the hills or whatever. I'm like,
yeah,
you're not jumping. You're not fucking jumping over. Like, I do like how I wish they had actually shown before she jumped like the mattresses down there, and they had the opportunity to have like all of them look over a ledge and all of them turn around. It's just like kind of fun things like that. Like you could have done to make it more visually interesting, but they didn't do that. So yeah, okay, whatever. I do like how they like Miguel just he didn't quit, but but I was like, all right, they sent him on a different side quest, but it wasn't really set up that well. Um, weirdly enough, I do like Robbie and I was cynical about this when we first talked about it, but Hawk and Robbie's are actually decent. I think their
yeah.
storylines were fine.
I kind of like some of the things that brought out in from Hawk actually this year in the or this season
Yeah,
because I mean think about it. He went from the kid that was getting picked on all the time to basically a badass, then almost an overconfident, almost bully, and then this season he got humbled. And you think about your journey in karate and in martial arts. That's pretty much a that's pretty almost
it's
full circle. That's full circle what you go through in karate.
yeah, definitely.
And
I,
and
I
so I think that's one of the things I really liked about what they did with Hawk this year. So
I wish we had more time with that. I wish we had like an episode of him waking up and like being like his mom having like seeing his mom and like seeing like oh like and like seeing his school life and like all this like this like there's an interesting way of doing it and they're just like whatever school pan it's like I don't know to me it feels lazy. I did like his like moment of just like I know who I am now, jumps up on the platform. And like but that's the thing like with him and with Robbie to a degree they actually gave them a style to work
yeah,
with. Like they're actually like you can tell like okay that's how he fights, that's how he fights. With the rest of them I can't like it's just like punch punch like it's the like arm waving karate that they're kind of doing. It's not I can't see anything specific going on there. So
well, yeah, but yeah, that whole part when he said that, yeah, he knows who he is. I mean, that's straight Rocky, Rudy. I mean, it's
yeah.
like, yeah, I'm overcoming this. It's like, almost. You know what it made me think of? It made me think of Tackleberry in Police Academy. They're in the shooting range, and the instructor's like, okay, come with me, and then Tackleberry gets his firearms like, come with me, and he starts blowing up everything. That's kind of what it made me think of. It's kind of like, no, I'm taking control of this. So yeah,
Yeah, and like I honestly I don't like hate that part of it. It's just the way it's executed. Like why are Danny and Johnny fighting again? Why is this happening again? Like we could have spent more time with the kids. We could have spent more time doing like why like this thing I don't understand. Like why are they like spending time trying to make Kreese seem now sympathetic? I don't know. Why are we showing like casual
Well,
drinking with
well,
teenagers?
well, no, dude, that's been in movies for forever. I mean, since the 80s. Now,
I know, but it's like it's a little like yeah, just get me a beer. Nothing hard tonight though. Like that's no, that's like
but
somebody would say when they're in college.
but yeah, I think the thing with Kreese, it goes back to the thing with Terry Silver. In
Yes.
that one spot, he says, everyone has a weakness. You got to find what it is. And I thought it was very interesting because, I was really brought back to, some things we used to do. Just there was a handful of students at Sensei Miners. We get together after class on Saturdays and we do stuff. I mean, we would think of just the most crazy ass crap to pull on each other to see how we handle it. Like there's one guy, I'll never forget when he did it because he did it to Sensei Miner's top student at the time. God, I thought he was gonna like blow up. He was so pissed that it happened because we're getting doing some in close fighting and just hand drills and stuff, and all of a sudden, what he does is he comes in and does a titty twister on him. I mean, it was like, God, get off me! I mean, just like almost like he was violated or something. I mean,
Well,
yeah. Don't get me wrong.
well, let's not
Right, but
for legal reasons.
I mean, it was interesting because I mean, one, his reaction was like he'd ready to kill him. The other part of it was is after we stepped back and thought about this is like, how do we handle stuff that's just completely off the radar? Is this in any martial arts technique? Not really. Is you got somebody down, you give somebody a wet willy just to embarrass them or something, just to things like that. Where does that come up from? Another one was we're doing bear hug and stuff, and basically you go down and do like a flea bite on the inside of your leg, that soft tissue right down on the inside of your leg. I'm not saying everybody's going to release, but I tell you what, you don't like it, I guarantee you it makes you feel kind of uncomfortable because it's kind of close to something else. So it's like,
yeah.
And I mean, when he said that, it was like, man, that brings up a lot of stuff, a lot of past lessons. Like for me, like like some people when they're doing techniques, they'll do like a shuffle or something like that to get position. One of the things one of my go-tos is since I'm a pretty big guy, I'm not the biggest guy, but if I bump into you, 9 times out of 10, more than likely, I'm going to throw you off balance. And then I'm going to be able to make whatever technique work that I want to work. Is it perfect every time? No, but it's something I go to. It's unconventional. People are not expecting me to just bump into them or nudge them or whatever. And so it's stuff like that. It's like doing the unexpected. going back to what Bruce Lee said, you know, people who are expecting things, and if you have a pattern, they're easy to defeat. You have to use unexpected things to defeat your opponent a lot of times.
Right, but the opponent, I don't know. Is it the coaches like two like 70-year-old men yelling at teenagers to like take out the opponent in any means necessary at a
Well,
teenage karate tournament?
well,
Like,
I
I'm
mean,
following everything you're saying, sir, but
I mean, look at look at look at some of the things that Mr. Oyata did, Sensei Oyata did. Like, I mean, there are probably some people that listen to this podcast that were really around when he had that court case, when the guy was suing him. He walks in with a cane. Judge throws it out. Guess what? He found the weakness in the judge. It's like, how the heck is this little old man going to do this? Just like when we were coming back from Okinawa. I'm watching him. He goes up to the ticket counter in Japan. He's just hobbling up there. He's like, oh, hi, old man. Is there any way I can get up here? Oh, sure, Mr. Yacht. I mean, he ends up in first class. Well, us dummies are in the back, drinking sake and doing whatever.
got to drink sake on a plane.
So I mean, I guess it's one of those lessons, learn human nature. It's not so much technique, but knowing how to get into somebody.
My only disagreement with you is that, I don't want to say it's a disagreement, but my only thing is that I'm noticing in our conversation is that you're picking this up because you already had those type of experiences, and so this kind of bringing up stuff you remember, as opposed to Joe Schmo, who would be watching this and be like, "Ugh, old man with long hair to get angry at children, has split personality villain syndrome," right? Like, I totally see where you're coming from with what you're saying, but like, that's because you had those lessons, as opposed to someone who didn't have that, might not read that or might not get that out of that experience. So
True. I don't disagree with that, because I mean, when I watched I remember, yeah, I'll tell one on my age. I mean, I remember going to the movie theater to see Karate Kid, the original. I back then, hey, that was kind of a cool teenage movie. Hey, yeah, that's pretty cool. Little did I know what was really being taught in that thing.
well, I mean, it's the issue with my thing is like, yeah, it's a cool little teenage movie, and should it be given like this I think over focus and prestige now, right? Literally, we got two guys on a podcast right now among a sea of other people who are making content about this, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like content machine echoing. And this is where I think like it's not so much the karate itself. Like, I don't have an issue like so much with like that. Like, they don't really know what they're doing. Like, kind of accept that at a certain point. I felt like maybe in the first couple seasons, like they had a little more of an idea of what they were doing, but they kind of gave up, or gave up trying.
I mean, there are times. I mean, there are some things that yeah, they are going through now. Is it stellar? No, but
No.
I mean, it. So anyway, we'll just leave it at that.
Well, and I think it's like they need to find a good place to just to land the plane, as it were, because like, okay, how much long? How like, are we gonna bring back Hilary Swank? Is Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith gonna come in and do
No.
and you know what I mean? Like, is like, how much longer are we gonna milk this thing? Like,
I would like to see Hilary Swank come in, at least make an appearance.
Yeah, a cameo, like something like that to be like nod to like, okay, the fact that this happened. But like if she comes like if we go through essentially the same storyline with Chosen in the next season, and then Daniel's at at the end of season 5. Daniel's at the grave of Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi, I tried so hard, but we just couldn't. And then Hilary Swank comes in, like, and then this is how we're gonna do season 6. Hilary Swank is the new sensei. Like, sorry, like this. Come on, like we
No,
find a good place to land it. You know, be happy with the fact you got essentially like
another.
you got like 7 hours of new Karate Kid essentially.
Yeah.
Right. And like, and it's built for, I think, a decent generation. I do like the thing I will say about this season, like Johnny still cracks me up. Like they still manage to make they still at least put the effort for his character in. Like there isn't a lot of effort, but it's like we have literally an erectile dysfunction scene with the guy over the fact that like somebody had mentioned like he felt like a jaded lover because Miguel was starting to train with Danny, so he couldn't. He was supplemented by the fact like he couldn't have like, oh my god, I don't know if I want to say this on the podcast, but like he couldn't have sex with his mom because he was training with another sensei. So I'm like, okay, if this isn't like 80s, I don't know what is, but like, you know, they still give him the best lines, like, you know, the soup needs to be more manly, so he throws more like beef jerky in there, and then like there's only two pronouns in this dojo, it's sensei and student, and he's like, those are nouns. That new girl character that joins Evil Fang is awesome. She's great. That's that.
Now that was one of the other things, because he's looking for a female student and stuff. He's trying to find someone pretty aggressive and things like that. And what was funny is, the one kid's like, look, there's this chick on the debate team. Debate, oh man. Then they're sitting in that auditorium. And I mean, when she tears that book apart, he goes, that's the most badass chick I've seen in a long time. It's like, yeah. It's like, so yeah, I thought that was one of the better parts in the movie, like, or the show was, he kind of got over his, okay, I got to go find some athletic chick, to where it's like, no, you got to find someone with the right attitude,
Well, and I liked how like they had to like match it with that other girl who I don't know what she was. I guess they had another cast member lying around. I mean they don't really understand, like you can't just this is what I'm saying, like yeah, they have like people who are like patting down kids like when they walk into school, I guess, but like they don't really understand, like Johnny just can't walk onto public school property in the middle. Like this is the other thing, we just kind of gave up on explaining like where he gets his money, like because clearly the guy is like he's not getting any money off of the whole Cobra Eagle Fang thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is Miguel's mom supporting him? Like
I don't know. The other one that I thought was kind of cool is they brought back Aisha for a guest appearance. Kind of.
Yeah, that was good. I think it was. I feel that might have been a result of COVID. It definitely felt like more of like a COVID, because some of this is like a COVID shoot. You can kind of clearly see like some stuff is like filmed like two person. People are kind of, you can clearly do an over the shoulder from a more of a distance. So this is why I don't give anybody shit for not necessarily being in the best shape, because that's hampered a lot of people. So
no,
I feel bad for saying that, but I do like that she made a reappearance. What did you think of that scene?
I thought it, I mean, again, I thought it was a good lesson that she came up with. Is like, it's not all about, there's always lessons, and I think this is going to lead into this other podcast that we were talking about early on, is like the real lessons that you get from karate and martial arts.
Oh, she's effectively stopped doing martial arts, but she hasn't given up on those lessons that she learned. And I think that's, unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of time with that. And I also feel like that was a great scene. And then they turn around and like Sam's like, "Bitch, I'm coming after you if you try to hit me." I'm like, way to fucking take the air out of like the beautiful thing you had, and then like just turn it around and be like, no, we're not gonna make these kids grow up or evolve, and even after
I think that's one of those things where you had someone who was somewhat passive, yet confident, overconfident, and then ego driven. That was one of the scenes I thought, I was like, why did you do that? I'm just like, you're turning into a jerk, but but I hope that I really hope that this next season is it. I really do, because
maybe
I can see where they're trying to bring up middle school kids with Daniel's son and this other kid.
I was just about to ask everyone to talk about this.
And I'm like, okay, I did think the thing that I thought was really good about it was the fact that this kid who was being bullied ended up getting mentored by Robbie. And I think Robbie realized there's a lot more to mentoring somebody than just pouring in knowledge. You got to really work with somebody. And I think a lot of people who've taught over the years have had somebody that you've tried to mentor and it went south. I mean, I've had that. I know other instructors who've had that, and it's and it's how you deal with it. And I think that was one of the last scenes in this season was him trying to deal with it, and he felt really conflicted about what he saw from this kid that he was trying to mentor. And I think he truly wanted to mentor him and wanted him to really follow a really good, decent path. But he was starting to turn to where he wasn't.
Well, and that's because it's like he's with Cobra Kai, and then that has to be that heel turn, and then so I do like where they ended with Robbie, where it's like he actually turns back to his dad because he's got no one left to turn to. Like Daniel essentially kicks him out. He essentially walks away from Cobra Kai. Apparently Johnny can just break into any building because Cobra Kai building is like I'm wondering if like the next plot line for them is like, and I'm gonna be interested to actually see whether or not I'm right about this. Basically, he brings Robbie along with him to Mexico and tries to find Miguel and tries to bring him back. And like, I feel like that's what they're getting him out of the way for. So Chosen and Danny can have their plot line with Terry Silver, and that way he's sidelined for a majority of the season to come back to help or something, because that has to be what they're doing. Because this is why I'm getting frustrated with it, because it's like, all right, we're not setting things up to land. We're just kind of setting them up to.
There's no boundary to the story, and it's like I don't disagree with that. So, but
Should we bring up that we know people who are kind of like Terry Silver?
No.
Okay.
No. Other than the
We
fact,
do know
yes,
people who are like Terry Silver, and you pointed this out to me before we recorded, and you were like, "Hey, this person like Terry Silver." I'm like, maybe this person plus this person equals Terry Silver. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. So like, is Terry Silver like other is there analogs? And this is why I'm going to continue on my this is the Spinal Tap of martial art of karate. Of course, there are Terry Silvers all over the.
if you think about it, there are creases there. Especially if you've been around martial arts for any length of time, you can see different instructors in each one of these guys. You know.
Well, and what's going to be interesting is actually seeing them attempt. I really hope they are a little more delicate with what they do with Chosen, because God, it's going to be really bad if they.
I don't
Hopefully they bring it back down and just end it. But from what I read somewhere, they're like, yeah, we're gonna go to season 6.
Please no.
Yeah, it's like you're ruining a good thing. So
yeah, I think I hope they. Either I think they ought to stop it at 5, maybe make it a 12 to 15 episode series done. Make sure it's done.
yeah. But Netflix wants its money, so that's the thing. It's like
now, should they go for the super happy ending and basically have, was it Johnny and what's her name?
Miguel's mom.
Miguel's mom get married, but make sure Bobby from Cobra Kai marries him because he's a pastor.
Okay.
And then have Dutch come back and have was it Jimmy come back as like the best man and stuff like that. Now come on, that's like the super sappy ending. Come on, that'd be. But I'd be like, okay, that's kind of cool.
End of season 6, Robbie, Johnny and Danny get married.
No, it's got to be Miguel and Sam get married, because then you got Johnny and Daniel as in-laws.
Well, maybe, but it's just end it, because it's like this is the thing. It's like this is why I say these writers don't know what they're doing, or don't really only have really one trick, because it's like, all right, so they're just passing around girlfriends and boyfriends at this point. It's like weird.
Come on. That's like the ending of Return of the Jedi, where everybody's singing in the forest. Come on. And they're playing the drums on the stormtrooper's head. Come on. That would be it. Have the big marriage ceremony and it would be done. Hey, that's great. Awesome.
Take a look at that scene again. Billy D. Williams is clapping the whole time. No one else is. And Billy D. Williams is he didn't show up in any of the sequels until they forced him to. So yeah. He's just like doing this the whole time, like being like, yeah, I'm in Star Wars. And like, I'll maybe in this Batman movie, and then nothing else for 30 years.
Yeah. Pretty much. So.
Anything else we want to mention about this?
I'm trying.
It's debatably controversial. I don't want to say controversial, but debatably contentious season of a TV show that probably should have ended.
Yeah. I thought it was decent. I know you didn't, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree.
I will say this. I will say I can see where you're coming from. I can see where you're seeing that, but I ultimately have an issue with the execution of it. Not necessarily what they were trying to say, but how they said it. Like that's my issue. And like it really hampered my enjoyment of like even.
Now the other part of it the one last thing was when they had the meeting in the convenience store, and Terry Silver basically confronts Daniel. It was like, poaching students is, kind of unethical. And I think, I've seen that happen, in the martial arts community, but I've also I also thought it was interesting. It it really brought out that whole weakness strength thing. And what was it? Daniel goes back to Terry and he basically said, "You basically tortured me." And he says, "No, I didn't. I brought out what was inside of you, and you're a natural hothead." And I mean, think about it.
That's true. I mean, from
I,
everything we've seen from like literally the older movies, and then like apparently at the tender age of 55.
yeah, but think about it. I mean, think about different either lessons or different things that we've all been taught over the years, and think about how instructors have brought that stuff out of us. And I mean, I remember some of the things with Robbie, and I mean, he brought stuff out of me that I didn't even know existed. So I mean, there are some things that I could definitely see from that point of view as well. So
Well, and that's where I think like that's true. Maybe we could have actually seen that rather
yeah,
than just like be like, "Yeah, let's have this awkward moment in a convenience store." And then like,
yeah,
do you like how it's like, "Hey, buddy, if you're gonna be in here, you got to buy something. Take
yeah,
your time."
yeah. No, but I mean, I guess that's the lens I always look at these shows from. So I mean, it's a little bit different, but
Yeah, and I'm always looking at it from like an enjoyment perspective, but it's like, all right, like there's a way this can be done that's maybe a little better. Maybe we can like frame it a little more in an interesting way because it's like they essentially like have the same type of story for like 4 seasons, and I know they kind of like they changed hands in like midway. So like season 3 is like and season 4 look a lot better than the first two, but at the same time,
well,
it's like they're kind of
I
repeat.
still my favorite is the first season was still my favorite. I mean, it just there are parts of that just, oh my goodness, just cracked me up. Like whenever the first lesson with Eli slash Hawk, he comes in there and he's asking him about his lip and all this other stuff, and then Eli says, they say I may be on the spectrum. He goes, I don't know what that is, but you need to get off that product. Just like that and what was the other one there? He's trying to do all this web stuff and he doesn't understand it. And it was funny. Yeah, and give me one of those hash brown things.
Yeah,
I mean that I I laughed so hard. I was just like, oh my goodness, it that is so from the 80s to now, totally like
but
you
it's
know
like that is what where it was cute, where it was funny, where it was like like
yeah.
throwbacky and stuff, but like it didn't really get out of that, and that was like that's my issue where it's like yeah we maybe kind of went a little farther, but like this is why I say like they still give Johnny the same kind of like dumb lines and like kind of lines like that, which is cool, but at the same time it's like all right, let's go. Let's do something else. Okay, we're going to Okinawa. All right, we have to like on-screen goodbye to Mr. Miyagi finally. Okay, all right, then we kind of solved it. But like, where's the? You're right. It's like it's never-ending plot points where it's like, let it end already. Like, end it on a good note.
Yeah.
We essentially forgot the main. Or we also like essentially forgot the main point of the whole story. Like this time around, there was like the stakes of like we're gonna have to shut down if like we don't live,
Yeah.
and like we pretty much forgot it by the end of that. Like wait, so Daniel's just gonna keep teaching, like Johnny's just gonna keep teaching. Like this whole like deal they made is like out the window essentially. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, that part, yeah, it's just, there are certain parts of it, yes. So it's just, I don't know. But anyway,
Cool.
so,
Jeremy, what are you doing this week in terms of training?
um, just right now, just getting straight on, basically making it a habit of like every morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, get up, train, go through whatever I'm doing, whether it's kata or just working on different cardio or whatever. Just get it get it down to where I'm basically got it as a habit, as opposed to, okay, well, this day I'm doing it at 5, this day I'm doing it at 6, this day I'm doing it at 9:30 at night. Just get it solidified. So
Okay. Definitely. That's I mean, that's a goal I like to have too. I mean, it's just work schedules don't exactly match up with having consistency quite yet. But
yeah, as one of the I've been listening to some podcasts for goal planning and things like that, and one of the guys I listen to is a guy by the name of Grant Cardone, and he says you need some vitamin D in your life. I'm not talking about the real vitamin D. I'm talking vitamin discipline. If you get discipline in it, we call that vitamin D around here. And I'm like, okay, all right, kind of like it. So,
sure.
I mean, he's the one that came up with it. I give him credit. It's like, that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna work on my vitamin D, I guess. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on my vitamin punch snow in the face because I'm tired of because I'm fucking like I live somewhere where it's just almost nonstop snow, and it's kind of geographically based, meaning like we're in a place where the moisture is more dense, so it will just snow a lot more, or whatever meteorological term is used for that. So yeah, never ending snow.
Maybe it'd be a great time to take up Masogi.
No, I'm good. I'm gonna just punch the snow.
Nah, go out there and go in there and dunk yourself in the cold water just one time. Boy, I tell you what, that'll change you.
I'm good. I mean, like, I don't think I need to be. I already have to basically shovel for work now, so I'm good.
So I don't know if I've ever mentioned that story about me.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. So, but yeah, dunking, getting buck naked and jumping into freezing water. I did that once. It's called the polar bear swim. I did that one time. Good.
It was called my apartment back in like 1993. No, anyway, sorry.
Fair enough. Well, we'll end it on that high note, because we don't want to try to overtop that one. But Jeremy, thank you for joining me back, and hopefully we can get on this a little more often. And yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and don't forget to keep training.